God puts us in nations, in places, not by mistake, but to do a job. What if we opened our eyes to the needs of our colleagues, of our leaders, of our subordinates, and we were a priest on their behalf? Welcome to the Repurposing Business Podcast. My name is Brett Johnson.
And I'm Lynn Johnson.
And we're going to be talking about how to get our business into God's business. Our subtext is Let My Business Go, and we'll have guests from around the world. So thank you for joining us this week and every week on the Repurposing Business Podcast.
Well, welcome to the Repurposing Business Podcast. And today I'm going to be your host. And in fact, today I'm going to be interviewing Brett, because Brett, you've spent a lot of time interviewing everybody else, and now it's my chance to ask you what's going on and what's been happening. This has been quite an interesting year, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. We had set aside this year, Lynn, to get more stuff online. And so we blocked off March till October. And our big question was going to be, how do we actually just have time on our own without the temptation to invite all of our friends around?
We love having our friends around.
We love it. We love having
marvelous. People. I would have my full-time work just hanging with my friends, but
That's right.
I know we have other things we need to do. And in fact, because we'd set aside March through October, that really helped us when we had to make a big decision when we first heard about COVID when we were in South Africa.
Yeah, we wondered about staying in South Africa. Would it be better? Should we stay there? We have my mom, who is a little older and 93. And so we thought about these things and ultimately decided we could serve people most effectively by being here with high-speed internet access and...
in the woods of Tennessee.
That's right. So we got on the last plane out of South Africa that came directly into the US. Yeah. Literally skin of our teeth.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing experience.
We went standby at the airport and got on the plane. So second last family on the plane. Nearly missed the plane. And here we are. So we've been here since late March. Yeah.
So, Brett, how's it felt for you as a luminary and as somebody that has a lot of content, and in fact, a lot of content that you've gathered up through the years that none of us even know about? In fact, sometimes Brett will just like sprout about something. Oh, what about this and that? And I'll say, well, I didn't even know you had that in the works. How has this been for you, having this sort of allocated time to really relook at your content and what have your thoughts been about that, and what have you done about it?
Well, firstly, I think I've had two responses to it. One has been, it's fantastic. It's great. I don't have interruptions and I can just get on. And as my daughter would say, I can loom, which is now like you Google, it's become a verb in our family, looming. And so I can do that. And it's been a real gift to have that time. I must say at the same time, we've been unpacking our office, which has been packed up for 8 or so years.
Yes.
And that could go either way, because as I pull out products that are half finished, like say Inspired Innovation that I've worked on with Cisco and put this whole thing together, but I haven't actually got energy behind it. One could get depressed on the one hand and say, man, I've got a lot of unfinished stuff. But actually I came to an aha moment one day, Lynn, and I thought I can view these as unfinished things, or I can view them as jet fuel for the next phase of what we do. When you go into space, that initial booster that gets you there, you don't take it with you because it becomes baggage into space. You use it as fuel. So I decided all of this stuff that I've worked on is going to be fuel for the future, not something that I have to repackage and somehow take with me if maybe it's expired, maybe it's just been part of the fuel. So I've had these dual things. I've loved it, but I've had to get over not trying to make sense of everything I've done for 20, 30 years.
So, Brett, I've known you for 45 years. Mm-hmm. Actually, I've known you much longer, but...
you've had your eyes on me.
Oh, yes. Say. And, of course, been in relationship with you for 45 years, a very long time. And one thing that I know is that you write and you prepare, but it's not just so that you can put thoughts down there. Your heart is always for the people. And it's either seeing a need in people's lives or realizing that you have something that could strengthen and encourage them. That's why you have written things. That's why you wrote Convergence. Yeah. That's why you wrote Lemon and other things like that. So what moved your heart this year in particular when COVID really sort of took over?
Yeah, Lynn, I got a bunch of entrepreneurs from around the world together on a couple of different calls. I call them possibility thinkers. And we brainstormed the opportunities coming out of a crisis. What could you see? And what I find with most of the entrepreneurs is they're not thinking about how do I make a quick buck? How do I get a business opportunity? They are thinking, how do I serve people?
Yes.
Which is wonderful. And so then the question was, how could we encourage those people? I saw distinct danger, and I still see it in regard to the pandemic, that people get lulled into, I don't know what's going to happen next, so I don't plan. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, as they say, and they get paralyzed. And so clearly from scripture, God is no stranger to restarts. He's gone through major restarts. Noah was a restart story. An amazing resource, was through the flood and a restart with humanity. The nation of Israel coming out of Egypt. Jesus coming was a restart on something that had meant to be good, but had become a convoluted religious deal. And so God is no stranger to restart. So I put together a series, which I did over 3 times a week, just 12 sessions, and got a group of business people from around the world. And I thought I'll just do it once, a restart series. But it was so encouraging to people that I did it a second time.
Well, we loved getting the testimonies from people who said this made such a difference. And I think that feeling of, I've been so lonely and I'm trying to work this out. People loved being in this class, as well as when you did the breakouts and people could pray together, and people also asked, can we keep meeting afterwards and can we keep praying together afterwards? And coming out of that, people got in touch with you and said they had friends who wanted to do it. So how many times did you do the restart?
So we did the restart twice with about 40 leaders in total. Some of them were in between jobs. Some of them, had been laid off. Others were business owners who were thinking what they do with their business going forward. And we had a bunch of guys who work in corporates like Cisco and SAP and other companies like that. So we had a wide mixture of people from India, Zimbabwe, South Africa, different parts of the US, the UK, Switzerland, and so forth. So we had people from around the world, which was also one of the value adds. One of the guys who works for SAP got into his first breakout, and the question had to do with the opportunities and the situation we're in. And he came back from that breakout and he said, I was just thinking the US. But this completely changed my thinking just from week number 1. So we did that twice. And out of that, I'd actually started looking at principles of restart. So we did a podcast series, season 1, 50 short podcasts, just 33 minutes a piece. Yeah. And so where can people get hold of that if they didn't watch it? Is it still available? Still available in 2 places. One is if you go to brettjohnson.biz /podcast, you can pick up season 1. And for those who want to go through it sequentially and want to see my face. That's a gorgeous face. They really should want to see your face. There is a YouTube channel that we have, Brett Johnson Biz YouTube channel, and we've got season 1, and so far 10 episodes of season 2 are up there already. And by the time this comes, there'll be more, most probably. We'll be at the end of 3 months of season 2, correct? We'll be wrapping up season 2. So that's a lot of podcasts to work on, Brett, and you've been interviewing all sorts of fascinating people. Tell me how you felt about actually the conversations that you've had with these amazing people for the podcast. And what has been the goal of it? The goal has been, the broad theme of season 2 is let my business go. And so it's really, really to encourage people. That can be from different perspectives. How do I get my business into God's business? It can be God speaking, hey, Mr. Business Owner, it's not really your business, it's mine, let it go. Can also be the business owner saying, to economics constraints and so forth, let my business go. But also the business owner saying to church leaders, hey, let my business be the vehicle of what takes me into the marketplace, and don't just wrap me up at the back of the church. So yeah, it has multiple perspectives. I've loved talking to people from around the world. We've had CEOs of financial services companies through to millennials who are,
I think that's your favorite, when you get to talk to the millennials.
I love chatting with the millennials, but each of them has a different perspective, and people who've pivoted their businesses, who've changed things. Some people who've shut down businesses, and that's been hard. But getting people who've decided, I'm going to change my trajectory, or I'm going to broaden the audience that I serve. So I've loved talking to people. It's been fantastic. Yeah, and some seasoned business owners, chairmen of companies, through to people who are more venture capitalists, people who are more newbies. I've spoken with an advertising specialist from Africa on the impact of the pandemic on future generations in Africa. And yeah, so it's been fantastic.
Yeah, and people have been very vulnerable as well in these conversations, haven't they?
Yeah, it has been. It's been touching because people are actually sharing just how they feel, how they'd found their identity in their jobs, some of them, which have gone away, their best laid plans gone, and people not having everything together. And this has been the opportunity of a divine reset where there's kind of God pressing pause on society and saying, hey, all of those things that you thought were so important, those busy business trips, all of those meetings you had to have, all those conferences and so on, is that really, really important? And or have you lost sight of me in all of the busyness that we got to in the world? And so people have been very vulnerable. Yeah.
And there's such great power in the testimony. And so I think when you hear somebody else's story and you hear how God has worked in their life, it gives you perspective, it gives you hope, it gives you inspiration, it gives you encouragement, doesn't it? And maybe it shakes you up a little bit when you go, wow, I could have really dealt with this in a different way, but I just sort of I didn't put the spiritual energy into it, the focus and so on. So I think that will be encouraging for people to listen to those as well.
Yeah, the key is to not waste the crisis.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
Don't waste the crisis. Yeah. We don't want to repeat this one.
And a famous politician had said this, Rahm Emanuel had said, you never waste a crisis. In other words, you turn a crisis into a political opportunity. But the crisis is actually a spiritual opportunity for us in terms of our own hearts, our own lives, our thinking, and also in the area of relationships. So another thing we've been working on is Lynn and I have put together a class, an online class called Lemon for Lovers. And we have done a couple of sessions in South Africa, right, Lynn? Yeah,
it was fun. And this came out of knowing and understanding Lemon because Brett wrote the book many, many years ago, when we'd be in conversation with people, married couples, people considering marriage, people dating people, we often found ourselves pulling on these Lemon principles, or we had understanding that we could share with them based on Lemon. And so we thought, wouldn't this be amazing to actually do this in a class format? And so we had a few Lemon for Lovers sessions in South Africa. And now we're so excited to actually offer it so that people all over the world can do it. Can you share a bit more about that, Brett? How can people access that?
Yeah, you just go to brettjohnson.biz and you'll be able to find the Lemon for Lovers class there. And we have couples going through it right now. We actually have a parent-children combination going through it together, which is great with their spouses. And so people had come to me and said, I missed a session. What can I do? Well, now you can get it anytime on your own.
Just take your time. It's a great thing to do as part of a date night. And in this situation, we had actually the parents gifted it to their newly married son and his wife. And this has opened up wonderful conversations for them as well. So it's something that can be very helpful. But
so there's 8 sessions. You go through, watch a little video, a little bit of a PowerPoint. There's a new book, Lemon for Lovers. A second edition is out, which I updated this year. And So that's there. You get the ebook and you get an online assessment, a Lemon for Lovers assessment, as well as a Lemon Leadership assessment. And normally the Lemon Leadership assessment is $20 and the Lovers assessment, $30 plus $20. And the book is another $10. So you're getting all of that bundled into your price for
a really good price. So I encourage people to do that. I think it'd be very, very, very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Brett, through the years, we've had thousands of people that have done the Repurposing Business training.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think you've got something exciting to share.
Yeah, that's right. So we've had as our tagline, Repurposing Business, Transforming Society. And that's been our tagline for many, many, many years. And we've done, as Lynn said, thousands of people have gone through the training this year. Another batch is just wrapping up in Cape Town. We have an ongoing group in Zimbabwe and in Madagascar. We've trained people in Nigeria and people from many nations around the world, which is fantastic. And we've trained them in the first part, Repurposing Business. The second part, Transforming Society, I've been sitting on the book. I wrote the book in 2010, and in 2016, an expanded, update edition, adding about 100 pages with a lot more information. And so it's been great. I've had a dedicated resource in Rachel O'Connor, who's been working with me since February. And we have put together an awesome Transforming Society class, which is going to start mid-February in 2021.
How amazing. After all these years of doing Repurposing Business, so there's now the follow-on. And Brett, what would be some of the major themes that you look at in Transforming Society? And does this apply to just a normal everyday person, or do you have to be sort of in government leadership or something like that?
Well, unfortunately, the normal everyday person who is a millennial wants to change the world.
Yes. Well, I'm not a millennial and I also want to change the world.
Yeah. So people want to have an impact in society. They want to make a difference. And it doesn't matter whether they're a follower of Jesus or not. People really want to make a difference in the world. The question is, how do you get this out of a desire and a concept and an aspiration to being something practical? So the course takes you through on two major tracks. One is you can be looking at a geography and say, I live in Cape Town, South Africa, or I live in Lagos, Nigeria. I live in some part of the world. And in many parts of the world right now, there's challenges, of course. And I want to impact a geography. Or I'm from Cape Town, South Africa, but I really want to impact Mozambique, or I want to impact Malawi. People have different nations on their heart. So one is a geographic city focus. And thanks to Kim Wilson, one of our former staff members and a good friend, she came back to me and said, I thought the class would be for a group of people who had a giant that they wanted to tackle. So we have a parallel track. So,
I love that.
Yeah. And this is going to be cohort based. So the Repurposing Business training was like an undergrad degree for you, although we called it a Kingdom MBA, or some people did. This is going to be more like a graduate class where you're going to work in cohorts for 3 weeks on assignments. And then the fourth week we'll come together online, everybody. And I'll be doing the fourth week with everyone. So people can do the class online. They can get a group together if they're looking at, say, the giant in the supply chain of the food industry, for example, or they're looking at human trafficking or access to clean water, whatever they determine to be a giant. They can get a group together. And in fact, we're going to have a group discount for people when they pull a group together. So for every additional person in the group, everybody in the group will get another 5% off. So up to 6 people.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. That's really great. And can you imagine actually setting aside the time to talk through with other people that have the same concern, the same passion? I think it'd be very, very helpful. And I'm sure there'll be great strides that'll be taken, because it's going to be quite practical. Very practical. When you come out with the deliverables are going to be quite practical, aren't they? Very practical. So we have 15 chapters in the book. So there'll be 15 sessions plus a group gathering. So there'll be 3 sessions plus a group gathering. So there's 5 4-week modules. And in each of these chapters, I've actually interviewed somebody from around the world, sometimes a panel of people. So when we're talking about capital and transformation, I have 3 people, one from New York, actually
from Zimbabwe and South Africa, now in New York, Dr. Sapano from Indonesia, and somebody else who's from Pennsylvania. And I have them on as a panel to talk about capital and transformation. So I've got panelists, just brilliant panelists, who bring their own insights into each of the chapters. And so there's a podcast within each chapter of the book, which is fascinating.
It's going to be very, very stimulating, very stimulating. When I think about it, I love the fact that it's going to be positive and encouraging and challenging. So much of what we've heard and so much of what we're having to deal with is sort of downer news, is negative, is difficult, is stressful. But how great to actually tackle a problem or prepare to tackle a problem with other people that can speak life and hope and challenge us to actually make a real difference. I think it's going to be quite remarkable.
It's fabulous. And
how do people sign up?
They can again go to bradjohnson.biz and click on find the Transforming Society class, and they can sign up for that. Yeah. And so they can definitely do that. We start 15th of February. So just after Valentine's Day, get your lemon for lovers out of the way. And in fact, just before that, we're going to do a scorecarding class. It's an optional class, but we're going to do that for 3 sessions. So 8th of February and then a couple of sessions prior to that, just to look at the mechanics of how do you develop a scorecard that can actually track an impact in society. So there'll be a little bit of prep work to do. It's not a prerequisite. There is a 100 series class, which is up on Udemy, which is a prerequisite to the Transforming Society. And you don't have to have gone through the Repurposing Business training.
No, that's good information to get out there, because some of you might be listening and going, well, I've never done repurposing business training. What is that? And so you are encouraged to do the 100 series, to find that and to do that, and then to actually join in and have the amazing opportunity to connect with other like-minded people around the world. I think that's going to be incredible.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And talking about like-minded people, you have one other thing. Well, not only one other thing, Brett's got lots of other things, but you're also planning to do some groups that you're going to meet with for very sort of intimate and personal conversations with leaders. Are you ready to share about that?
Sure, I'll share about it. As we've gone through the Restart class, and this has been true over the years, when we run executive intensives, we've had plenty of executives go through our 6-day executive intensive. And what they all ask at the end is, how do we stay in touch? Yeah. So we have them on a WhatsApp group, but actually they would like to be speaking more. So some of the people out of the executive intensive came into the Restart class, but those Restart classes are over. Some of them have kept meeting. But what we're going to do is I am going to meet twice a month with a group of executives, and that'll be 2 one-hour sessions a month. And this will be in a Biz-Discipleship group. So years ago, we put up the concept of Biz-Discipleship. We're going to pivot and repurpose that. We were doing, an app at that stage, and that's really going to be replaced by the podcast. But the Biz-Discipleship group, I'm going to start again in January. And it'll be only about 20 executives twice a month. And it'll be a peer group. I'll share a bit of content. I'll bring in outside people, and we will work together and meet together for 10 months of the year. So it's going to be 20 sessions in the year. And there'll be a monthly fee for that, for the executives to be part of that. And they'll need to apply to be part of that.
That's going to be an extremely rich experience. And from a totally unbiased perspective, I need to say that Brett has an incredible amount of wisdom. He also has years and years of experience, and something that I've called through the years prophetic consulting. I've seen this at work in Brett's life. So I actually think that for executives to be part of a group where they have my brilliant husband speaking, mentoring, encouraging, facilitating, plus other amazing people, will be so worth it. And I would say when you sort of open the door for that, people should run and sign up right away, because there's only 20 slots. And it's going to be very, very powerful.
And so the secret sauce, of course, is the executives talking to each other. And so my job will be to facilitate them doing that, because you want to know somebody else who's in your industry, a same stage, same nation, whatever it might be, dealing with issues, and lots of encouragement. And, we have heard, since we took our first team to Cape Town in 2003, the theme with executives is, I'm lonely. I don't have somebody to talk to. My pastor doesn't understand the business stuff. I mean, I can talk to him about great stuff, and often they do. But when it comes to the guts of the business, they want somebody else to talk to. And so this is an opportunity to do that. And Lynn, I've avoided mentorship over the years, because typically what it means sometimes is that, you get together for coffee with somebody. I have to pay for the coffee, and then they don't do anything. But with this group, the group will be spurring each other on.
Yes. And I think the fact that you're talking about kingdom executives, there are business groups out there.
Yeah.
But to be able to meet with other people that have yielded themselves and their business, their work life to the Lord, and are on the front line of really trying to live that out. And it's definitely not easy. I think to be able to connect with other people will be so powerful, and also to be able to connect with people in different spheres as well as different parts of the world. And once we get to travel again, I have a full expectation that those people that are in a cohort like that for a whole year are going to become friends and are going to want to travel and visit each other.
And want to come and meet with us here or in Cape Town.
And we are getting our place ready to be able to host people as well. So I think it's going to be excellent.
Exactly.
And what if you're not an executive and can't afford to actually pay that price? What is that going to look like?
Yeah, so that group will be exclusively for people who are in businesses that are of a decent size, have been going for a while, and they can afford the monthly fee. The other group will be for a professionals group, so a discipleship professionals group, also twice a month, also an hour each time. And these will be people who work in companies. They don't own the business. They work in a company. They might work at some of the companies like Google and Facebook, or at a bank, or at a real estate office, or whatever it might be. And they're dealing with similar but different issues as well. They don't write the company policies.
But they still want to make a difference. They want
have
to
an influence,
have an influence,
And years ago, we developed a product in the Bay Area, which we ran a couple of times. And it had to do with people who were actually like the Daniels and the Josephs and the Nehemiahs. They don't own the business, but they have an influence. And there's a pattern for that. And so how do you prepare yourself? How do you position yourself? And how do you relate to peers? And so some of the small business owners as well would fit into that. Somebody's running a direct sales business. It's on their own. They would fit better into the professionals group because they're not dealing with the same level of issues as the other people.
Yeah. Well, it sounds great. Well, it sounds like you've been quite busy this past year.
Yeah, and I have a couple more books coming out as well.
So forgot about that.
Yeah, out of season 1, so 50 Principles of Restart. It's short, almost like a daily devotional. It follows the podcasts, and
50 Principles of Restart.
Yeah, how do you reset the foundations for your future? What sort of future do you want to have? Do you just want to have the future that gets dished up to you, or do you want to be able to shape your future? And so there are these very, very clear principles. And I've had a number of people who've actually been going through the podcast, some of them listening from number 50 back to number 1, and they've come back to me and they've said, I was making a decision. Should I sell this? Should I buy this? Should I do that? And the principle spoke to me very, very directly. Now, I've had others say to me, Brett, I barely got down to the first traffic light and the podcast is over. I mean, it's only 3 minutes. And I listened to some other podcasts for 2 hours. Well, we do have the longer season 2. Those are longer interviews. And so there's the 50 Principles book. And then I wrote a book.
Also at brettjohnson.biz.
Yep, that's still coming out.
Well, it'll be there.
It'll be there soon. And then I wrote another book back in 2016. And it was strange because it was 10 steps to restoration. And it comes out of the book of Isaiah and a sequence of restoration, which is unusual. And I wrote it back then, got the whole thing ready to publish. And I felt God say, don't release the book yet. But over the last couple of months, I felt the Lord saying, now's the time, you can do it. So I'm making a few adjustments, and I'm going to publish that book as well. And I think I was hugely encouraged when I read it. So I would say it's going to be a really, really good thing to read a small, short book before you're heading into your new year and as you're planning for your new year.
Well, that sounds wonderful. That sounds wonderful. Well, thank you for all your hard work and all that you've done in preparing so many different sets of materials for people to enjoy and to use.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's been awesome. It's been awesome. I've benefited from it. Yeah, and it's been great having the conversations. I've loved having conversations with people from around the world, getting their insights. I've actually been listening to our own podcast and did an interview with Doug Addison. And I thought, I didn't hear him say that when we had the podcast. I must have been listening ahead, or not listening, as my wife would say. And so fantastic. I've been greatly encouraged listening to those as well. Yeah.
Well, Brett and I are so grateful for the many, many, many different people who've walked with us through the years and continue to encourage us in what God has called us to do. So thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your support. Thank you for reading the books and being part of the classes, and for the many people that have helped to lead classes, both the Repurposing Business training and people who are going to be involved in leading the Transforming Society training as well, and being involved with that. So we couldn't do what we do without having such a wonderful community. So we're grateful for everybody.
We are indeed. Good. So that's what I've been busy with this year.
Thank you so much for answering those questions.
Thank you for being the interviewer today.
Thank you for being part of our Repurposing Business podcast.